Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in to another Morgan James book launch. My name's Jim Howard. I'm the publisher for Morgan James, and today I'm excited. We've got an incredible author to introduce you to. Today we're talking with Paula Winchester Rank, and Paula is the author of Combat for Custody, a Parker and Price novel. Paula, thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us today.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, I'm so excited. I love this book. I have my copy right here. Combat for Custody, such an incredible cover. And there's a story with this cover, right? Someone you're very close to actually did the illustration, correct?
Yes, my oldest son, whose name is Jared Rank, is an artist in the Burbank, California area. And he did this cover for me. And part of the book takes place in Egypt. And that's his interpretation of the Temple of Philae in Egypt.
That is so incredible. And it came out so well. The color scheme, the way it works with the fonts, everything is so well put together. Love this book. And this is such a fun book, right? It's a lighthearted story about some serious topics, but it follows along with these two family law attorneys, right? These law lawyers who go on this incredible adventure and all the things that they get into to try to solve a riddle and really, get the right outcome for their clients. But intertwined are all these things that come up, and I'm not going to give too much because I want you guys out there to buy a copy of this book and read it. It's so well put together. But Paula, what made you want to write a novel in the first place?
Well, I am at heart and who I am, a storyteller.
Mm-hmm.
So as soon as I could talk, I was telling stories and creating stories. And as soon as I could read and read my first novel, I really wanted to write a novel. I took a lot of creative writing classes in high school and college, and that's sort of, what I wanted to be when I grew up, if you will. But growing up, my family was pretty financially challenged. And so when it came time to decide really what I was going to do for my career, I went with something a little bit more financially stable, law. And but I've never lost my desire to want to write and to tell stories. And at one point I found myself in a foreign country, hadn't found a job yet, away from my family and friends. And suddenly I, was thinking, I have absolutely no excuse now. I have all the time in the world, no distractions. And so I sat down and I actually wrote the first draft in about 6 months.
Wow. That is incredible. A lot of times it'll take first-time authors a lot longer than that to write a first draft, but you did it, and I'm so grateful you did. Your storytelling is incredible. The book reads so well, and I'm excited for other people now to get their hands on it and read it and enjoy it as well. So you have a background in law. That's where you went instead of becoming an author right off the bat. But is that part of what inspired this book? What inspired the story behind the book?
Yes, so I practiced family law mostly and some other kinds of trial law, litigation law for over 20 years. And as you can imagine, in family law, you see a lot of stories. You meet a lot of people. And I really think family law is a microcosm of the world because it's people who are, related to one another. They're in relations with one another, and they have all the elements of a good story. There's conflict, there's passion, sometimes there's intrigue, sometimes there's mysteries, there are love triangles. All the elements for what make good stories are there. And so the other component of it is that I've traveled a lot all over the world, primarily in the Middle East, and have lived in the Middle East. And so I wanted to do a fun story that was exotic in an exotic location. It was interesting, but also really looked at people, who people are, how they interact with one another, their weaknesses, their faults, but also their ability to overcome bad circumstances, overcome situations and rise above it and really become and find the people who they are, who they're meant to be.
Yeah, and I think your book does that really well, right? Takes us on this journey and this adventure, hidden with actual circumstances that could take place, but in it you show a lot of the fun and things that can happen that if we just sit back and look at life in that way, we'll see how everything can unfold. And the funny thing is, I always told my family that if 20, 30 years ago, even if cameras could follow us around, people would love to take a snapshot and see what actually happens in the midst of all this chaos. Who knew now there'd be reality shows that do that, right? So you could draw so much inspiration from family. And I love the fact that you brought that and poured that into the book just to get a dose of reality mixed in with this incredible story.
Thank you.
So what do you like most about the book? What are the readers going to find, like, just most interesting?
What I like most about it is that it's fun.
Mm.
And it really is escapism. I mean, this is not a realistic book. And, Publishers Weekly critiqued my book, and I'm really glad that they did a review of it. But one of their biggest criticism was that it's not realistic. And I never intended it to be realistic. I mean, I don't know about you, but life is full of realism. Life is realistic. And in real life, we don't get to determine how things are going to turn out. So this is, you have to suspend disbelief for sure. But I think it's just a lot of fun because it's life the way that we wish it would be. And, we can imagine ourselves as the people that we really want to be, and that we see ourselves as being, rather than, with the limitations that we actually do have. So I just like it because it's a lot of fun. I think it's funny, but also it does look at serious circumstances. But, a lot of times in life, and people say, sometimes you just have to laugh or you're going to cry. Sometimes we get in circumstances where this is really bad and this is terrible and I'm not happy about this, but, with a little dose of humor, you can get through it and come out the other side. And then when you look back, usually you can laugh at it, maybe not while you're in the throes of whatever crisis of the day you're experiencing.
So, within the criticism of the Wall Street, of Publishers Weekly's criticism, they found the truth, right? This is unrealistic. Yes, it is. But it's a lot of fun. I love this statement, and I think I'm getting it right from the back cover copy, but this is one of the statements that stood out to me when we first started talking about doing the book. And that was, this duo meets the challenge with humor, wit, aplomb, and more than a little strip mall karate studio acquired kickboxing. So there you go. When you're armed with strip mall karate studio kickboxing, you can handle anything that comes your way.
Exactly.
Folks out there, this is such a fun book. I tell you, I have loved this book since we started working on it, and I really hope that you guys will grab a copy of this one. And it's available everywhere books are sold, so anywhere that you buy books, you can grab a copy of this one here, Combat for Custody, and I hope that you take advantage of it. So Paula, I know people are watching us today, they have to be intrigued at this point, right? They've got to want to read the book. So they're going to want to connect with you. What's the best way for someone who's watching, who wants to find out more, connect with you and find out more?
Okay. I do have a website. It's paulawrankfiction.com. And within my website, I have a blog. And then I also have other ways that you can connect with me. I am on Instagram. Combat for Custody has its own Facebook page. And I am occasionally on Twitter under Paula W. Rank.
Awesome. And I'll put a link right here below the video to the website so that you guys can find that easily. I encourage you to go investigate her website, check out her blog. More importantly, get a copy of Combat for Custody. You won't regret it. So Paula, thank you for following that dream so many years later, going through your career and your life, but getting to that point and saying, there's no more excuses. I need to write this book, and following through and writing it. This is such an incredible book. And thank you for taking the time today to talk with us.
Thank you.
And thank you guys out there for watching. We hope you've enjoyed this conversation, and I know that you're going to enjoy Combat for Custody. So make sure you grab a copy. And until our next one, have fun, read this book, and we'll see you soon.